Today we're in Napa Valley, California, where content creator Lauren Nicholsen has conjured something truly extraordinary. A home transformed for Halloween with wit, style, and a touch of dark whimsy. Inspired by a dead man's dinner party, skeletons gather for a feast among twisted branches and flickering candlelight. In the kitchen, witch hats float above a cauldron of curiosities, spell books, potions, and the perfect dose of mischief. It's dramatic, playful, and beautifully imagined, proof that Halloween can be just as elegant as it is eerie. To watch Lauren's full episode ad-free, scan the QR code or click join below.
Hi Homeworthy and happy Halloween. I'm Lauren. Welcome to my home in California. Come check it out.
This fall, Homeworthy is all about the season's magic. We're stepping inside homes transformed by autumn's colors, where pumpkins aren't just decorations, they're statements.
We went to the auction in Pennsylvania and brought 4,000 pumpkins back, and I have them all on my stoop, and the neighbor's stoop, and the other's neighbor's stoop, and the other neighbor's stoop, and my backyard.
Where shadows and candlelight mingle to create a hint of spookiness, and every corner tells a story.
And so the theme of this was friends are coming over for a nice dinner. It clearly turned into a bit of a bloodbath. We have some candles and some transitional pieces throughout. There's like teeth and guts.
From extraordinary Halloween displays to cozy gatherings at home, we'll explore spaces that feel both enchanting and inviting.
For the tablescape today, I really wanted to capture all these deep sort of jewel tones for fall. These gorgeous reds and deep purples. They really are rich and inviting.
Plus, in the kitchen, we're celebrating the flavors of the season with dishes that bring warmth, comfort, and a touch of whimsy to the table.
Remember that fall isn't just about the foliage changing, but it's about the mood changing even in the house. And that has to do even with what you're cooking, right? So today we're going to make a really moist, fabulous apple cake.
So light the candles and enjoy our autumnal series, because nothing says home like a little spook and a lot of heart. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi there, my name is Lauren Nicholsen. I am a content creator over on YouTube where I love to share all things homemaking, so cooking, cleaning, decorating, DIYs, and welcome to my home here in the beautiful Napa Valley, California. So when I was a little kid, my parents were not big decorators, and so I loved going to school during the season changes. Really started in that, back to school into those autumnal months, and then we would come into the classroom and the teacher would have transformed everything into witches and ghosts, and we would do all these ghost crafts. And I would come home and we had this big giant window in our home where we grew up, and I would put all of them taped up on the window so all the town could walk by and see my beautiful art. And then as I grew older, it would kind of spill throughout the house, and my mom was such a champion of my creative outlets, I'll call them, and so she just had a ball with it, would always make sure I had crafts around. And when I became a mother and a wife, I think is really when I started to want to create these really memorable experiences for our kids. And not only in the sense of that they're memorable, but these are things when my kids are older that they are going to potentially do for their kids. And so the love of it has kind of morphed into something that I really resonated with as a child that now our children look forward to. And there's just some type of magic. My husband and I also do really fun stuff for St. Patrick's Day because it's such a mischievous season because it's oftentimes overlooked. So I feel like no season is safe. No holiday is safe with us. We are always kind of going above and beyond, but the root of it always goes back to some of those core childhood memories of just the excitement of coming into a classroom and seeing its transformation. Every holiday, I do something different. So no Halloween or Christmas will ever look the same. And so for this Halloween, I always like to start with a theme. And I was on a hike the other day, and the song It's a Dead Man's Party came on, and I thought, oh my gosh, how fun would it be to do like a very beautiful dinner party where everyone dies. So I got the green light from the kids that I could go a little bit more scary this year, as I've tapered it over the years. My youngest is 9, eldest is 14. So I was like, okay, we're gonna do this dead man's party. So I thought for the front of the property or the house, we would do kind of like a big dinner scene, and then we kind of move into the living room, which isn't too over the top because we do still have to live here. And then in the bathroom, I also did a very fun little bathroom scene, which y'all will see. And then I wanted to do a witch's den. So kind of like at the end of the day, when the witch is done doing her spells, where is she hanging out? What is she doing? Where is she going to put her broom? Is she going to have friends over? So I kind of split the themes up a little bit so that the whole house couldn't obviously be a party. It'd just be cheese plates and skeletons everywhere. So I kind of split the spaces up, and you'll see throughout the house that the rooms are kind of separated enough where you could actually do many different themes. So those were the two I went with. And so I take it from a very high level of like, okay, it's a dead man's party. It's a Great Gatsby gone wrong, if you will. And then I take it all the way from like, what are the main parts? And then I whittle it down to like the maggots coming out of the wood that's coming out of the foot that they've been served, and these like deranged waitresses and butlers, and like I start to kind of piece it together in my mind and then gather the pieces, and it will be an all-day experience to kind of just put it all together. And I tinker with it over the weeks until Halloween comes up, but it always starts with a theme for me. So here we are in the great room. This was actually the part of the house I was most excited to do a Halloween decorating transformation. So like I said, I was listening to some music and the idea of a dead man's party came up. And so that's kind of the inspiration of this particular vignette here. While I had already done the front porch, I had collected all of these fallen down logs in the woods up above our house, and I found 2 pieces of wood that really made me feel like it was going to be the centerpiece of this deadly dinner party. So I have these giant oak pieces of wood that had fallen off. They have natural, beautiful moss throughout them. And I thought, oh, I could put worms and maggots and spooky things throughout. And then I also found a much larger one I wanted to put at the mantle here as well. And so the theme of this was friends are coming over for a nice dinner. It clearly turned into a bit of a bloodbath. We have some candles and some transitional pieces throughout. There's like teeth and guts. And one of the things I love to do when I'm decorating is take what could be just putting decorations up, going more macro, and then just layering and layering and layering on the detail that makes it so interesting to sit down and look at like, oh my God, is that a tooth? Like, is that a worm? Is that a maggot? And then when we were all done, I added just some webs on here to give that effect that these folks have been sitting here for a while, right? To get these kind of webs that didn't just happen the night of. So I had that kind of become the base. I added some bloody stickers throughout, and then I thought it'd be fun when the Ghost of Honor gave everybody some bloody body parts to eat. I laid down some knives, and then it can't be a party without a butler and a maid, so we went ahead and added them as well, which just gave it kind of a more elevated, fancy affair. I tacked on a couple of these bats just because they've definitely made this their home. And then for over here, I couldn't really figure out what I wanted to put on this mirror, but I just thought a chainsaw massacre was calling to me, so we put that up. That actually was a DIY from one of those big giant pieces that you put over a garage door. It's the same with the lady on the porch. I couldn't find something grand enough, so that's a great way to save money but also have a lot of impact with a piece like that. And then I tucked in a bunch of really beautiful bats and some books. I love using books books and moss and natural elements in all of my decor. Every single Christmas, Thanksgiving, fall, and or Halloween decoration I've ever done has incorporated a collection of our books from my husband's family, which date back like hundreds of years. So I always like to grab a couple and trickle them throughout the decor. So the only other part about this I thought was really, really fun was, again, using these bloody fingerprints. We also have some newspaper articles of a house party gone wrong, which I thought was really fun. I found those online and just kind of added them throughout the house. And for the most part, I feel like this, whether you even just did the centerpiece and didn't have all of this, could be a really easy, beautiful thing for anybody to achieve. Just adding in a nice, beautiful candelabra, some of those fun little skeletons and things like that, I think could be a really beautiful piece for anyone to do. You can omit the skeletons, but I just love a very well put together tablescape. So this room came out better than I had expected. I'm really pleased with it. So aside from all of these gory little things to eat, I also love to use these flameless candles. We have 4 children, and for us, keeping things safe but also spooky is part of the dream here. So I picked all of these up. They have little remotes, and with one click, I can turn all of this on and all of this off very quickly. I find that always using flameless when you are having a party is a great, great thing. I'll tell you a funny story. We had Thanksgiving at our house one year, and I had this giant tablescape, and my sister and I were upstairs trying on dresses for New Year's Eve and having the most fun. My husband and my dad and my brother, like everybody was in the kitchen, and all of a sudden we heard the fire alarm going off saying there's a fire in the living room. And I came out the dining room, and I came out and my decor was on fire. We had to use a fire extinguisher, and ever since then, this is the same table. We had to lose one leaf because it completely burned. We have always gone flameless. So highly recommend PSA this Christmas, go flameless. You can get them on Amazon at a great deal. I love them, and it's so easy to just click and they're off. I also think that using lights like this creates such an ethereal vibe for any decor that it's just an absolute must when you're decorating for Halloween, Christmas, or any other season. Halloween takes about a week for us to set up. My husband and I will go to our storage unit and get all of our decor out for this particular season. We do keep Halloween and Christmas in a storage unit just to keep it clean, and otherwise, honestly, my kids will be digging through it all year and playing with everything. So we like to kind of keep it off site, bring it here. He and I will set everything up, and then, like I was saying earlier, that plan that I had, I'll start to pull out things and put them into piles depending on what room they're gonna go in and what theme that they're going to be working with, and then I set up one room at a time. So this process this year was 5 days. We did the front porch, which took 2 days. It was supposed to take 1, but we just couldn't get it all done, and it started raining, which was actually really fun. But typically a full house decorate with me video, or how I do these, take about 6 days in total. Christmas will probably take 6 to 8, a week and a half to get Christmas all the way up. Halloween took a solid week. So for the living room area, since we have a large family and we love to decompress at the end of the day, I wanted to keep this area somewhat casual for the kids to sit and watch movies, but also a little bit elevated for the season. So we added in our very spooky housekeeper, and then I just did, again, with those flameless candles, I do have one candle going when the kids are gone. And I love just kind of how this at night with these really beautiful heavy chains just create kind of a spooky feel, but yet we can all put our drinks down, watch football game, watch TV, and you can't go wrong. We have our nice cleaning lady that can help us at the end of the night. But I do like to keep this area nice and clean for our family, as well as the other living room where we spend a lot of our time. Moving on to the stairs, I wanted to do something that was safe for the kids to be able to run up and down, but also be spooky. We started at the very top by adding just a spooky little silhouette of a woman that wasn't too scary, but we do have a night light that pops up on her that's changing colors. It's really fun. And then working our way down to the skeleton, who definitely wants to see what she's about. And then I just added some of these outdoor hurricane lamps and some lights with some headstones, just to kind of create that warmth and, you know, that Halloween feel, but not too spooky where kids can't run up and down. For the sake of today's video, we do have some bloody feet going up to the top with a keep out sign. So when we do have our Halloween party, we usually don't allow guests upstairs, maybe some of the kids, but keep the kids' rooms off limits. So this usually will go up for things like that. I love using these, again, very affordable and fun. Any of these little bloody feet, hands, dripping blood, stickers you can put anywhere. I use them pretty much throughout all of my decor this year. And then up the top, I just use some of that black mesh fabric to kind of create, again, that feeling of nobody's been here for a while. The spiders have taken over, and then we just added a couple large spiders going up the staircase. Again, trying not to put too much on this railing so that the kids can still use it for safety reasons going down. The fabric creates that. Sometimes if you put garland up there during Christmas, it can kind of obstruct their ability to have a safe flight down the stairs. So I really, really love this. I think it turned out lovely. If you were going to go a little more over the top, you could even put some more of that moss down below to really, really make it spooky. I just didn't want to clean it up, so we kept it here. So on to this bookshelf. When we moved into this house, this is a 20-foot wall of nothing. And for the first 2 years, my husband and I sat here and said, what are we going to do with this 20-foot wall of nothing? We thought of getting a vintage tapestry we could hang from it, maybe paint it as an accent wall, which he absolutely despises accent walls, so I wasn't going to fight for that. We thought of putting an art gallery here, and we have a huge collection of books. This is maybe 1/10 of our collection of books. And so we thought, why don't we just put a bookshelf here? So we actually built this, I want to say maybe a year ago, and it has been so much fun to decorate over the years. Our family is a huge Limax collection family. We get one piece every year and add it. I've got a Halloween collection and a Christmas collection. The kids all write their names on the bottom and what year we get them. And on Halloween night, we turn this all on, and it's just such a fun tradition we've had. And then someday when my kids are older, you know, we'll split the collections up and their kids will enjoy them as well. And then we just ended up adding some random Halloween things. I had this guy for like 5 years and we've never used him. So my husband was like, we should just put him on the bookshelf. So that worked out great. I like to, again, add in some of that spider web material just to give it that older look, which I just find to be so fun. Hung up a couple babies as to just kind of complete this area, but you could really do anything with a bookshelf. I've seen some incredible bookshelf transformations for Halloween, but typically this is where we do our Limax village. So welcome to my favorite room in the house. I had so much fun making this the silliest room. So this is our guest bathroom, and I wanted to do something very, very silly. And it was actually inspired by this funny sign that made me feel like, okay, if I was going to have guests in here, how could I make it spooky? And so I decided to get this butler to come in with the toilet paper to help this guy who's been shot in the head to go to the bathroom. And then again, using just stickers and some of those spider webs, I added just a little bit of a different effect here. I love these hanging lights. You can use these pretty much anywhere, but they give such an ethereal look. I love the way when a guest walks into the bathroom, obviously during our party, he will have finished his business and we'll be out of here. But when they open the door, this is be the only light, as well as these candles over here. And then up here, I just added some mirrors, some other spooky stickers, and then we also have just the regular things that you would have up here, except for a nice bloody knife. Can't have a Halloween without one of those. and some spooky spiders in the corner. But I love this. I have some bloody footprints on the ground here, and I just really wanted to make this kind of silly and fun, and I thought there was nothing funnier than this being on the potty. So this will be probably one of the kids' favorite rooms. They haven't seen this yet, so I'm excited for them to check it out. So in the kitchen, I had this idea of what would a witch do when she comes home after a long day of haunting the town, and what would she need to make her potions. And so I thought I would do a haunted kitchen den for our friendly witches. So the kids typically have breakfast here, so I kind of got everything set out for their breakfast. I have some cauldrons with some candy, which I begged them not to eat, but they will. And I always hang something from this for all seasons. It's always different. This year I went with these little witch hats and then glued some bats on them just to give it a little bit of something extra. And then again, I used those hanging lights, which are kind of fun. They come with this little wand, and you can just turn them on, turn them off. Again, I love that type of stuff. You can really create an ethereal look without having to blow candles out or put your house at risk. And then on the inside is where the fun really starts. Again, part of my love and joy of decorating is to go over the top with the little tiny details. So over by the Witch's Brewing Station, I created a nice little area for our coffee. When friends come over, they grab coffee, my girlfriends and I go for walks. I added some brew cups, and then over in this corner is just everything that you would need to make a nice spell or something that a witch might necessitate to cast a spell. For this area, I always love traditional nostalgic Halloween. So I oscillate between these types of very realistic skeletons and then these more nostalgic pieces. So I've always added these pieces to this area because this is where I spend, other than our bed, this is where I spend most of my time because I love to cook. So I keep those pieces here because they bring me a lot of joy. And I always say keep the pieces that make you smile closest to you and where you are. So if you're in your office, maybe put a piece next to your desk that you love. So for the kitchen witchery area, I really wanted to go over the top by using real elements like these beautiful stones, and then I found all of these little spiders and eyeballs, and we found some of these really fun scorpions to just kind of create the element of these witches have these live living creatures just hanging out in their kitchen. They're going to use them in this cauldron and make some spells. I added this kind of fun, like how to create these different spells and the spell book that we used for our DIY project. Then over here we have this cute little carousel with things like teeth and body parts. I also love these little stones. You can get a lot of these. You'll read the spells call for different types of stones. So we got these to add in. I suppose you really could make a spell out of this corner if you wanted to. And then we have a little thing of bone powder, which I just added a little flour in there, but I made it a little messy, which is kind of a fun touch. And then a precious stone map, so you know exactly what stones to use for the hexes and spells. And then another thing I really like to do is add a couple wreaths to our upper cabinets. I just think it really is important to do decor, so it starts from the top and flows down. So I added a couple witch hats up there, and then these very simple little bat wreaths with some purple ties I just thought would be really, really fun, especially with the juxtaposition of a lot of orange in here. So it's nice to bring a little extra purple into the space. And then the other thing I always get, I typically get these in the fall, are these cinnamon broomsticks. I get them at Trader Joe's. I think you can get them other places. Not only do they smell delicious, but they make a perfect witch's broom. So I always grab a couple of those. And since we have 4 kids, I always typically do things in 4 and 6s. So I've got a broomstick for each one of my little witch children. And then from there, we have to go somewhere to rest our brooms and relax. So I wanted to kind of make this more of our Halloween hocus pocus witch's living room. And for that, I got really inspired with that hocus pocus spell book. And I thought how fun it would be to take some of the pages out of that book and burn the edges and make it as if somebody opened the door and the pages just cascaded over the fireplace. So in order to do that, I pulled those pages out and carefully burned the edges. And then again, using those natural elements of the twigs, I have some bushels of dried rosemary here, which smell delicious, definitely not spooky, but look spooky. And then used some foliage here to hot glue those pieces throughout. So as you look through here, you'll see crows, bats, some of those witch spells, and they're silly spells. They're not real spells, they're just jokes, but still they're very, very silly and funny to read. And then I have collected sticks like this over the years. I use for all types of different decor. Last year, this was actually the centerpiece of our table. And I like to use the hot glue gun because you can just easily pop these right off and reuse them. I like to reuse all of my decor. I definitely am a big saver of things versus just throwing things away. So I was very excited to do this particular vignette to see how it would come together with the skulls and these spells, which is very, very fun. And then this idea of these ghosts just reminded me so much of when my kids were little. And when my kids were little, I used to focus most of my decor on little things like little pumpkins and ghosts. And so I thought it would be fun to kind of go back in time and do a very sweet vignette in our breakfast nook area that was a little bit more soft. So I ended up going with the ghost theme, and I got a ghost for each one of us. All 6 of us are here. And then a ghost for my husband's father and my mother, who have both passed on but are here with us all the time in our hearts. So for this tablescape, still keeping with the witch theme, I did a wicker cauldron with a bunch of florals that I just kind of had from fall, and those black flowers that I had left over with these beautiful witch plates, and then a little boneyard underneath to kind of create that spookiness, but still keep it silly with the ghost so it's not too scary. But this is going to be the kids' favorite room will be in here. This is exactly the kind of stuff that they love. I think one year we need to put a good chandelier here. I'm not sure what to do, but I think we definitely need something fun up there. For the last, I'd say 20 years, I was in the wine industry. I worked my way up from being a tasting room, just person who poured wine for people, all the way up into an executive role. And even throughout all those years, having my kids, decorating and being at home was my happy place. So I always really enjoyed that. And I want to say, like in the 2010 to 2018, I thought, I want to start a blog and share all of these like homemade Montessori flashcards I do for my kids and sensorial bins and, things that at that time were not really talked about. Now you can get them in the dollar section at Target, which is fantastic. But I was really, really wanting to build a community around parenting and just having more fun and being mischievous, and when you get home, just pouring into your children. So I started a blog and realized I absolutely despise writing. I don't like writing, and I'm terrible at taking pictures. So I started it up and dropped it about 3 times over the course of 5 years. I tried, and it just wasn't for me. I didn't feel the passion for it. And I feel like anything you need to put out into the world, you have to love it first. And I just ended up not doing it. Speed up to 2020, I was doing a Harvard business course, and it was a Harvard Extension school. I did their digital marketing management course. So in that, one of my professors was a big YouTube advocate, and so we did a case study on YouTube, and I learned how to monetize a channel. And so for my capstone project, I started a YouTube channel and monetized it in a month, using everything I learned at Harvard, which is an incredible program. If anybody wants to do that, I highly recommend it. And through that process, once I graduated, was like, well, what am I going to do with this monetized YouTube channel? And I did everything. I could tell you chapter verse exactly how I did it, but it was basically all about home decor. So that was kind of coming into July, August. So I started to do my first porch decorate with me, and then my tablescape decorate with me, and then I just kept going, and I grew so fast, and it just kind of gave me that fuel to keep going. I did maintain my job until November of last year. I have officially kind of retired from the wine industry and focus on my kids, my husband, is in the wine industry and extremely busy and travels all the time. And thankfully, this YouTube platform has given me the ability to still be able to provide for my family, but continue to do what I love. It reminds me of a quote somebody said to me when I was young, which was, do what you love and you're never going to work a day in your life. And I genuinely feel such gratitude that I get to do that every day. Okay, welcome to the front porch. This was the part of the house that was most exciting because where all the kids from the neighborhood are gonna come is right here to get their candy and get scared. So I wanted to do something different and very special. So as I was saying, I really had this vision of using lots of big trees and limbs. So my husband and I use that as kind of the backdrop of this entire vignette. I've got all kinds of trees and limbs in here. I wanted to be able to use them to hang bats off and lights off and all kinds of webs. And then I wanted to cover everything in bats because at night this looks so scary and spooky. We went with purple and orange lights for this just to give it that extra dimension. We tacked on, so these are all zip tied on here, so they're nice and safe, but we have 4 of our skeletons, which we have as our kids. We always do that. And then again with the 6 of us in spider mode up top. And then I wanted to add just some kind of softer things, especially for the littler kids who are down here. So we added some jack-o'-lanterns and some skulls just to kind of warm things up. And then to bring it out, I decided to do the same lights and the webs throughout these bushes and top them with mom and dad skeletons. And I felt like we needed something a little spookier, so we ended up doing a cutout again from one of those garage covers. I don't know who she is or where she's from, but we love her. She's kind of growing on all of us, to be honest. I don't know how creepy and spooky that is, but she's just kind of growing on us. And then over the top, this has always been a bit of a quagmire for us on bringing this decor out here, especially on this facade. So we grabbed one of these really large branches and fixed it to the property. And then again, just did the same thing with that black cloth, adding in those bats. And then my husband proudly did all the bats and spiders. This is all him, very proud of all of his hard work on those. And then we continued out here, specifically wanted to continue this so that when kids are here, they know exactly how to get to the house and it feels safe and silly and fun. And then last but not least, we have our 12-foot skeleton ready to go get all that candy. We love this guy. I did find out that they do have a dog version, so I might need to grab that because I think that would be so cute. My husband decorates his 1967 Mustang every single year for Halloween, and so we have not fully finished it, but we are out and about and ready to get some candy. As a family, I just think it's so fun. I love a good classic car, but we decorated this together. We'll probably do some more things along the side of it, but gotta have a little fun. If you're not laughing, you're not living. I would consider myself a maximalist when it comes to decorating or really anything. Even when I cook dinner, I tend to cook enough for the whole neighborhood and they love it. So I guess it works out for everybody. But for me, I just feel like it has always been, since the kids are in the house, I'm always gonna go above and beyond for all things, whether it's a birthday party, whether it's a pool party. I just really like to have fun. I like people to have an experience, and I think that it is such an enriching thing to share when people come into our home, that they always know they're gonna get something special to eat and something special to look at. The word home to me is, I would say, is legacy. It is the safest touchstone in the world. It is the place. It's kind of my jewel box. I keep all my most special things here. I only put things that I love and take care of and love and take care of me. Home to me is literally the one place in this whole world that is the place I can be myself. I can love on my friends and family, and anyone I know that is in that circle can come here and get that type of love. And I just feel like there aren't many places and people I know that realize how important and how tender and sacred a home is. I wish more people would take the time to put love and energy into the home, because the home is something you can take anywhere. It's right here. Like my childhood home. When my kids leave someday, they can always come back. Whether it's this house or hopefully it'll be a different house, who knows? But home is a feeling, it's safety, and it is filled with so much love.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.